One story that everybody on earth is talking about is that the reigning, defending, current national champion of the college football world, Jim Harbaugh, is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Hey, baby Jimbo.
That was announced yesterday at 6:43 Eastern Time by this man, who is a Michigan man's Twitter account. Adam Schefter will be joining us in about 9 minutes to break down how we inevitably got here. Because if you do recall, December 4th, I believe, Schefter came on our show whenever we were in New York, and this is how he described the Harbaugh-Michigan situation to us. Has Harbaugh's camp or team thought about that, or are they just focused on college football playoff?
Well, I would say that, to me, he's always wanted to go bring a national championship to Michigan. And I think if he brings a national championship to Michigan, I would think there would be a part of him that feels like he set out to do what he intended all along, and I think that would give him even more liberty to take the jump to the NFL.
So literally since December 4th, Adam Schefter has kind of been saying that all Harbaugh wanted to do whenever he got back to Michigan was restore some greatness to Michigan. I think it was a narrative that was heard loud and clear by a lot of Michigan alums, because whenever Jim Harbaugh leaves the national champion Michigan team to go to the Chargers, all we saw yesterday was Michigan alums saying, "Thank you, Michigan man, Jim Harbaugh, for doing what you did to our beloved school." Beat Ohio State 3 straight times, won 3 straight college football playoffs, won a national championship. Now we're back in the conversation and allegedly handing off the baton to Sharon Moore, who hasn't been hired yet because state law.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's state law. Rest in peace, Donnie Baker. But there's at least a week has to take place before the highest paid, I'd assume, state employee is hired with anything else like that. So Sharon Moore is a guy that Jim Harbaugh found, gave an opportunity to, and is now handing off the ranks to keep Michigan at this high level, while Harbaugh now heads to Los Angeles Chargers, a place that he played for, a place that he's won for, a place that he's close to the owners, and I think he's coached ownership's kids maybe whenever they were at Stanford.
Okay.
Now, there was other teams that were certainly interested in Jim Harbaugh's services. Atlanta was scheduling another interview with him coming in there. He was the belle of the ball for this coaching cycle for good reason. All this human has ever done. Now, not a quarterback. I don't think he's ever won a Super Bowl. He is in the Colts Ring of Honor. I think he played like 4 games or something for the Indianapolis Colts. But all he has done as a head coach is win. Established an attitude and a culture of being physically tougher than other teams and not dealing with any of the nonsense outside. That is exactly what the Chargers need right now. The amount of talent they have on that team, the quarterback that they have, we think this is going to be a beautiful relationship. And congrats to the Chargers getting this thing done.
Yeah.
Now, Michigan obviously had massive success. At the Niners, he had massive success. At Stanford, he had massive success. I think even at San Diego State, where he started, he had massive success. This guy knows how to coach ball. Now, we think he's incredibly hilarious. I love that he is not normal. I like that he is quirky, even though that has been a weapon of his in his coaching style and winning over a locker room. And I think the NFL should be very pumped that he's back with us. I do know that a lot of the big people in the college football world, the Kirk Herbstreits, the Reese Davises, the Desmond Howards, they're all going to miss the hell out of Jim Harbaugh being in college football, because the persona, the personality, the moxie, the culture that he brings is good for any league that he's in. So we're all pumped that he's back in the NFL. There are certainly some people bummed, but if you're a Chargers fan, let's go.
Yeah.
We're back in this thing with a legitimate horse. The Toxic Table is here at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. We had a chance to talk to Brandon Staley in person.
Yeah.
Shortly after he was hired. And I think we all left that conversation going, I've never met an NFL coach like that before.
Good guy.
He said his coaching tree wasn't McVay. It was mom and dad.
Bruce and Linda?
Bruce and Linda are coaches in Ohio. Now, COVID takes place. I think he was a very interpersonal type coach. Wants to win them over, talk to them, meet their family. Couldn't do that for 2 years because of the situation that was happening around the globe. It did take place. Please don't cancel me for even mentioning that entire thing. And inevitably, just never really worked out. The Brandon never really worked out. Now, they got some real stability, a championship mindset, and the Spanos has had to pay. And they're not normally known for the people that are going to go up and above and beyond to pay people. You know, their bank account is not normally questioned by everybody. They somehow wrangle in the big fish. It is a victory lap day for this Los Angeles Chargers team. They haven't had a lot of those since they've gone to Los Angeles.
No, and there's still Belichick, Vrabel, Pete Carroll out there, and it's still like, hey, it doesn't matter. Who cares about those guys? Harbaugh is the guy. I mean, could you imagine, are there two more polar opposite people, at least from the outside, with Staley and Harbaugh? Like, it's almost as if just overnight this entire franchise just pivoted. Like, okay, we're not doing that stuff anymore. We're doing the Harbaugh shirtless underneath the rack in khakis. Like that is who we are now, which is awesome. And you mentioned Herbert. Like, it feels like that is the kind of guy Herbert is. Like, shirtless, quiet.
Herbert's got great hair. He's handsome.
Yep.
He's quiet.
Got a rocket.
So I think like a lot of people automatically assume like, oh, not like super football guy. Remember, I got a chance to meet his dad. Him, his brothers, and his dad were playing pickup football in their living room whenever they were little kids. That's the reason why he can kick, is because they put tape on the wall for field goals and extra points. They moved the furniture out of the living room as a kid so that they could play football in Oregon. Like, this dude is a football nut. And then one of his first plays, whenever he got dropped into the game after Tyrod Taylor had his lung punctured by a golf tee just 15 minutes before the game started, he's running down the sideline, and instead of going out of bounds, he takes his 6'6", 240-pound body and carted a guy.
Yeah, knocks him out.
Carted a guy off the field, and his teammates were like, okay. So now you bring in a Harbaugh mentality, which is going to be, you see it with the Ravens.
Yep.
You saw it with Michigan. You saw it with Stanford. I mean, remember Toby and Christian and Luck. And it's just like a physical football team, and you can kind of take out all the exterior stuff. Now, they'll still use the weapons that they have. Harbaugh's not a dummy. He's a quarterback at heart. They see the highlights of him throwing, but they're going to take on this image of him, and it's a tough team. And it's like, in the football world now, those teams are winning. There for a while, who's the smartest, who's the trickiest, who's the most clever, who has the most speed, who can spread them out, who can utilize the most? Sure, that still all matters. But who's the tough team now? Are the teams that are winning in the football world? And it's like they're immediately potentially dropping that culture into L.A. with the Chargers.
Yeah, and this is exactly what a guy like Herbert needs, I think, too, because, you know, he's unbelievable, obviously, and kind of people go back and forth like, oh, is he a superstar? But in big moments, whether it was the case or not, it seemed like a guy like Brandon Staley is just timid and kind of unsure of himself. Like, that's not Harbaugh at all. Like, you just feel, and especially like him being a Big Ten guy, watching all those teams for all those years he was in the Big Ten, and then obviously him in the NFL, like, they win those close games because that's just, like you said, like, that's his mentality. That's that physical tough. Like, they just, it's almost like he doesn't allow teams to lose in those situations. And then you get a guy like you get a guy like Herbert, who, you know, has all the talent in the world, but whether or not he was always, you know, held accountable to the same degree that Harbaugh is definitely going to hold him accountable. It just, like, this feels like a home run in every possible way.
And Harbaugh spoke for 5 minutes about how he thinks Herbert is the best young quarterback in the NFL. Now he gets an opportunity to work with him. With Harbaugh's physical style, I think, what is it going to do for Herbert's play, and what do you expect from Herbert going forward that maybe we hadn't seen in the past?
I think what you're going to see is the toughness that the team needs. Look, you know, this whole notion that one player wins Super Bowls in the NFL is somewhat ridiculous, and people continue that narrative going forward. It takes a team. It takes a village to win a championship. These four teams in the Final Four all have teams that work together with culture, and they play off of one another. They have great quarterbacks, but they rely on other things. What we do know about the NFL is one great player that's not the NBA can't get you to the Super Bowl. We see that, or else Warren Moon would have 20 Super Bowls. Dan Marino would have 15. Brett Favre would have had 30. Aaron Rodgers would have 20. I mean, it's ridiculous. But what's going to happen here is they're going to have a team around Herbert. And Herbert's leadership is going to be blended within the Harbaugh philosophy. They're not going to put the game on his shoulders. They're going to put the game on the team's shoulders. And Herbert's going to shine because he's really talented. And he's going to show everybody how talented he is. And all that stupid stuff about, well, he can't come from behind and he can't do this is going to go out the window because they're going to have a team that's going to play well in all three phases. That's critical. See, team building is what matters today. And Harbaugh's going to build a team around a great quarterback, which is going to make a great quarterback even better.
Man, culture matters so much, and it gets talked about whenever it gets talked about. But what culture is you have a connected group. And whenever you heard Jim Harbaugh talk, and I had a chance to interview him, and he talked about like the team, his team, and Washington's team. He was like, a team looks connected. Like that is all he cares about. Is he wants his team together. Never heard a player that has played for Jim Harbaugh said a negative thing about him publicly. Everybody loves. They have hilarious stories of him. Just ridiculous stories.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
But everybody loves him, and I think it's going to continue over there in LA. And congrats on all the success seemingly on this particular day to the Chargers and to their fans.